In cities across the country and here in Chicago, tens of thousands of homes sit vacant and boarded up. They're a blight on the community that was caused by the country's mortgage crisis and the foreclosures that forced out families who once lived here. These two residents have lived in their Chicago neighborhoods for years. They watched it change for the worse because of so many boarded up homes.
Well, it changed quite a bit because we had a lot of more problems on the neighborhood.
I think it's very dangerous. Like, you never know who's in the houses at night or during the day. Like, it makes younger kids, especially kids who go to school in the neighborhood, like more susceptible to like kidnapping and rape. So, I have two younger sisters and they go to school in the neighborhood, so they like have to come out here and like walk past these boarded houses in order to get to school. It wasn't as bad. I've never seen these many boarded up houses right next to each other.
Vacant properties often become a financial burden on the city. In 2010, Chicago spent more than $15 million to deal with vacant buildings. Researchers at Chicago's Woodstock Institute have been studying the impact of the problem.
Vacant properties really impact communities in two ways. I think the first way that vacant properties impact communities is that they drive down property values. And our research has shown that for every new foreclosure, which in many cases results in a vacant property, we see a 1% decline in property values in all the surrounding properties within about an eighth of a mile or one city block. That's a cumulative effect of about $125,000 in lost equity for each additional foreclosure in a community. I think the second impact of vacant properties is that they attract crime, and our research has shown that there is a significant uptick in crime in areas that have highly concentrated foreclosures.
Felton says banks that hold the mortgages on these properties must be held responsible.
We need to make sure that servicers are boarding up properties, they're maintaining properties, and they're ultimately preserving the value of those properties so when somebody comes along, that house is in a livable situation so it makes sense for a future homeowner.
The problem got so bad that last year, a member of Chicago City Council, Pat Dowell, proposed a law requiring banks to maintain vacant homes.
In Chicago and in Cook County, we now have a new vacant property ordinance that holds servicers accountable for foreclosed properties as soon as the homeowner leaves. So even if the foreclosure isn't completed, if that property is vacant, the servicer has to maintain that property and they have to make sure it's boarded up.
But taking care of vacant properties is just the first step. The next step is putting families back in them so that communities can be rebuilt. Feltner says to do that, it's important to come up with new ways to finance home buying.
Well, I think we need to fundamentally rethink the way that housing finance is structured in this country. I think that there's a lot of uncertainty about the future of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and I think however that issue is resolved, we need to make sure that there's access to 30-year fixed rate, safe and sustainable mortgage credit across all communities, including low-income communities and communities of color. Only if we have access to credit are we going to be able to get these homes back into productive use.
NACA is doing just that at events like this one in Chicago, where potential home buyers come to get their shot at the American dream.
2012, we're focusing on the purchase program because there's an opportunity to get the REO properties, the properties owned by the banks, into owner-occupants' hands. So just as an example of one of the programs that we are putting out now, if a home buyer purchases a Bank of America owned property or serviced, they get first right to view those properties. And if they offer the appraised value, not only does Bank of America have to accept that offer, but they'll provide 10 points to buy down the interest rate. And if you do the calculation today, they would be able to get that property at the appraised value with money for the rehab at an interest rate at around 1%.
With NACA's program in place, Chicago's eyesore may soon become a beautiful sight. Darren Duarte for NACA TV in Chicago.